Hey, Shalom Akim, all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone. Salute to sincere Akim out there of the hopeful elect. Right? And I'm just continuing on through the spirit, man. Like I said, I had some scriptures lined up. Just I'll probably break them down video by video. Going into this one is dealing with Psalms, the 55th chapter, verses 20-21. All right. Because still got a lot of our people that they don't even look these scriptures up, and when they read these scriptures, they don't know what these verses actually mean in the scriptures. All right, so it's our job and our duty as Israelites, as prophets, as servants, ministers of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, to break down these scriptures to our people, man. Whether they hear it and accept it, or whether they forbear it and neglect it. Okay, but it is nonetheless our duty to put this information out. Okay, so the scripture I got is Psalms the 55th chapter, verse 20. It reads, "He has put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant." Okay, now who's that talking about? That's talking about the so-called white man, the nation of Edom. All right, and how they came over here to the Americas and encountered the North American Indians, which the North American Indians is the tribe of Gad from the nation of Israel. Okay, see, these people call us Black Hebrew Israelites, but it's not just so-called black people here in America that are the Israelites. The so-called Negroes here in this country make up one tribe of the nation of Israel, which is the tribe of Judah. Okay, but you have 11 other tribes among us, which includes the North American Indians. All right, it includes the Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Cubans. Okay, and a lot of the other Latin tribes of Central America and South America. Okay, collectively we make up the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Now, when the so-called white man came over here to North America, they they wound up overpopulating in this land, conquering this land, killing off the natural inhabitants of this land, which is the North American Indians. All right, which they weren't. It wasn't the so-called black man over here in this land, as you have, as you got some of these guys trying to say, like Dan Calloway. All right, and certain other so-called historians and philosophers trying to say that the American Indians were straight up black people, as if they were Judites. Okay, like I said, there's 12 tribes amongst Israel. All right, and the North American Indians were the first inhabitants of this land. Okay, and they were not African Americans, just like the so-called Negro over here in America is not a native to Africa. All right. See, this lesson could get deep, and I don't want to go too off topic, man. Okay, I want to break down the scripture, and not go so off topic. But there's so much confusion out there, where you got these people trying to say that the North American Indians are really just straight up like African Americans or Negroes or what have you. Okay. All right, when that's not the case. They're their own tribe, but they come from the same nation of people that you so-called black Americans come from, which is the nation of Israel. All right, so I'm gonna bring the scripture out again so I don't lose focus on the breakdown of this scripture. All right, this is Psalms 55 verse 20. It says, "He has put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him." All right, the so-called white man, which is of the nation of Edom, descendants of Esau, when they came over here to America, they made peace treaties with the North American Indians. Certain agreements. All right, to avoid getting slaughtered. Okay, to avoid getting killed, because when the so-called white man came over here in the beginning, they straggled over here to the Americas. They were outnumbered, man, and they didn't know how to live off of the land. Okay. All right, so they made peace treaties with the North American Indians, in which this was all set up according to prophecy. It was going to happen. The scriptures tell you never trust thine enemy. So the North American Indians, they fell victim to the so-called white man for trusting in the so-called white man and doing deals with him and such. You know, it was in a so-called white man. They understood it was manifest destination. All right. Now the so-called white man that came over here to this side of the land, the Americas, all right, were mainly criminals and convicts from England. Okay, all right, because the history goes even deeper in the back in Europe. All right, where you had a lot of where you had high taxes and oppression going on out there in Europe. Okay, under the king's rule and the elites of England during that time period, man. Okay, wherein they would overtax the population and of the people. Okay, to to rid them out of the land, and there was a such thing as if you didn't pay your taxes, you had two choices, which was either to go to debtor's prison because you were in debt, or you can get shipped away to the new land. Okay, and a lot of people, of course, chose rather to get shipped away to the new land instead of going to prison. All right, because they figure they go to the new land and maybe they could survive on their own and set up something else. All right, so there's a big myth, to destroy the myth about the white man coming over here from England and different parts of Europe in search of religious freedom. Okay, that's what that's why they say America's the land of the free. They came over here and they came to America and had freedom of religion and the freedom to do certain things that they were not allowed to do in Europe. A lot of that is bullshit. A lot of that is cap. Okay, like I said, most of the people, the straggling Edomites that came over here to the Americas were actually criminals. Were criminals, or they owed debt. All right, in which that land was corrupt anyway. Europe, okay, even the ruling factions in Europe were all corrupt. Okay, they would drive the inhabitants in debt and leave them with two choices, which is go to debtor's prison, get incarcerated, or get shipped over to the New World. And anybody in their right mind is gonna to avoid going to prison and rather get shipped to the New World and just take a strike at luck and see what happens. Okay, so that's how most of these pilgrims and these Quakers and these crackers, these Edomites, came over here to the Americas and wound up doing deals or peace treaties, so-called treaties, with the North American Indians. All right, in which they had no intentions on keeping those treaties, man. Okay, because their main thing was survival by all means and dominating the land and the native inhabitants, which were Israelites of the tribe of Gad, which are the North American Indians. Okay, so I know I just said a lot, but let me read the scripture out again. Psalms 55 verse 20. It says, "He has put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant." All right, in the hundreds of treaties that the so-called white man made with the North American Indian, he broke every last one of them. A covenant is an agreement, okay? And and two parties come to terms of an agreement, and one party breaks it, then he's considered guilty, and the so-called white man is guilty of breaking treaties with the North American Indians. All right, okay, so so that's pretty much what that scripture goes into, man. The history of the so-called white man making agreements, namely with the North American Indians when they came over here to the Americas, because the Lord is only concerned with the nation of Israel, all right, and how he broke his treaties in covenant with the inhabitants of North America, all right. Verse 21, it says, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart." Yeah, he had ill intentions. towards the North American Indians. Okay, when they came over here, they said we intend no harm. We just want to, we just want to live. They came over here in low numbers in the beginning, desperate and in destitute. Okay, and they didn't want no smoke, so to speak. But their true intentions was what? Oh, they scoping out the land. Oh, this land is vast. You know, uh, we can conquer these people. These people are nice. They're kind. They're kind people. Okay, because the saying, take kindness for weakness, and the intentions of the so-called white man was to kill the North American Indians and take their land, namely enslave them. Because a lot of things that's not told in history is how the so-called white man actually enslaved the North American Indians and carted them back to Europe way before the transatlantic slave trade of the so-called black man being brought from the west coast of Africa and different parts of Europe to the Americas to serve slavery, to work in the cotton and tobacco fields, man. Okay, so this is history that's not really told like that, but it is documented, and it did actually happen. Okay, all right, and that was their main intention. Once they started coming over here by the masses, and word was getting back to Europe, all right, about how vast the land was and how fruitful the land was, and you had all these natural resources and how meek and humble the people were. Okay, their intentions totally changed, man. All right, of being humble and meek and peaceful with the inhabitants of the land, but instead thinking of ways to enslave and conquer the inhabitants of the land. Okay, and they did it by all different means, man. All right, like the massacre in Jamestown, where you had where they got the North American Indians. I forgot the tribe of Indians, their names, but this is the same one that Pocahontas came from, where the Europeans laced the wine and killed 200 North American Indians and shot and killed the remaining of them. Okay, and basically took over that land. And a lot of these different massacres, like you had the Mystic River Massacre, all right, in which the Pequot Indians were slaughtered and killed. Okay, a lot of these different massacres is where here in North America they actually get the Thanksgiving Day celebration from. Okay, and because it was plenty of massacres of the Eastern American Indian tribes. Okay, all right, in which presidents like George Washington, going even all the way up to Abraham Lincoln, declared Thanksgiving Day a holiday, because there were so many different massacres in which the so-called white man was celebrating, his conquering and slaughter of the North American Indians, in which he was able to survive off of the land. You had the president, George Washington, basically declared a day to celebrate. All right, all of these different massacres as a whole, but put it in one day to celebrate, which was Thanksgiving Day. That's where you get the concept of Thanksgiving Day. Okay, and of course, over the generations, it was taught in schools to kids, the children, that it was it was basically a friendly event and a friendly occurrence. From peace with the North American Indians, and how they helped the so-called white man live off the land, and it was trade and such going on. Okay, but they omitted the parts of history of how they massacred and slaughtered the North American Indians and poisoned them, laced the wine with poison. Okay, and also through bio warfare. Okay, with smallpox and different diseases that the North American Indians have never encountered before, because they never experienced anything like that in North America. Bringing certain vermin species of animals over here to this land that's not native to this land. All right. You know, Elder Gad, he always talks about it, how the brown roach is not native, the German roach is not native to the Americas. The brown rat is not native to the Americas. Horses are not native to America. Pigs, okay, wild boar is not even native to the Americas. This is all the disease that the so-called white man brought over here, man. Okay, so Psalms 55:21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. So war by all means, man. And this is prior to the great Indian wars that happened out there in the West, when the so-called white man got the Gatling gun and killed off the rest of the tribes of Gad in North America. All right? It says, his words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And in modern day times, you see this with these politicians, man. They come with these smooth words, okay, but ill intent at the end of the day. All right? That's typical politics, you know, corruption and such. All right? So I've spoken enough. I'm going to end this video on that note. Say Shalom wa barakum to you, brothers. Psalms 55, verses 20 through 21. This is what it means. Okay? Shalom, Akim. To the next one.